How to do erotic hypnosis the hard way. Hello, my name is Tracy Kanan. I'm a certified hypnotherapist and a board certified medical hypnotist, and this video is designed to help you kind of understand what I do because it's a little on the different side. I'm the owner of Wings Hypnosis. I've been doing hypnosis since 2014, and through a series of strange events, I ended up making erotic hypnotherapy as my specialty. I got into it the way everybody else does, through the land of stand-up comedy. I ended up entertaining on a bunch of swinger cruises with BDSM dungeons going on, and I learned a lot in the years that I did that and was able to tie this all into a really kind of a different profession. So let me get going. So let's just start with, these are some of the calls that I get, okay? These are inquiries that I get from men. These are not all the inquiries I get, but it's a good feel for what I do. So from men, I'm just not performing like I used to. My testosterone is normal, but something's a little off. I get this as well. My wife and I are swingers, but she's lost interest in having sex with me, with anyone. Can you help her? Another one I get is I'm a straight guy, but I feel guilty and shame because I like to do gay things. By the way, if you're easily offended, probably don't want to watch the rest of this video. Other inquiries I get from men: I love to cross-dress and wear lingerie, but I'm self-conscious that I don't look more feminine. I get this one a lot, and actually this is men and women inquiries. My first sexual experience, I was assaulted. I've had lousy relationships. I think I'm gay, or I think I'm bi, or I think I'm a lesbian. I've had a fetish for years, and my wife doesn't know about it. It's out of control right now. Can you help me? All right. Women inquiries. I was trafficked. After years of therapy, I'm still triggered by X, usually X, Y, Z, and then they roll back around to ABC. Will I ever feel safe? I get this, and the age actually doesn't matter. I'm in my late 40s, and I've never had an orgasm. My mom taught me that sex was nasty. Another one I get is sex is very painful. Several doctors have told me there's nothing physically wrong with me. From the BDSM world, because I do a lot of work with BDSMers, my slave is not obedient to my commands. Can you program him or her to make me a priority and obey? And I'm a swinger, and I can't swallow. By the way, this is another men and women question. In this case, it was a woman, and she says, I feel like I'm less than and wish I could do this for my husband. And another inquiry I get is I was sexually assaulted by 5 men over a 20-year period. I now have kids of my own, and I'm scared. Welcome to my world of erotic hypnotherapy. Perhaps you have a different inquiry, or perhaps one of these touched on something that you're experiencing right now. But let's take a moment as to what I do. And the best way to explain that is, what is hypnosis? What you're seeing here is a very clinical definition that I pulled from my hypnosis therapy school. Hypnosis is a natural yet altered state of mind where communication with the subconscious mind is present. Participants often experience an extraordinary quality of relaxation and an emotional desire to satisfy a suggested behavior, provided the suggestion doesn't generate conflict with their belief system. Classic definition of hypnosis. It'll vary from school to school, from hypnotist to hypnotist. But what I deal with is basically real world stuff. So in my world, everything is hypnosis. Anyone or anything who is using direct or indirect suggestions to get you to act or think in a particular way is probably using a form of hypnosis. This includes advertising, social media, TV, movies, politics. Doesn't matter if you're conservative or liberal, politics, and your social circles. So everybody is vying for a piece of your mind to get you to behave in a certain way, do a certain thing, act in a certain way. Everything is hypnosis. I'm going to break this down further, that we have good trances and bad trances. Okay, so a good trance would be you're a great mother, you're a great father, you're a great employee, you're a great business owner. Okay, that's the stuff we leave alone because that makes you who you are. But somewhere along the way, we get these bad trances, and it can be as benign as I'm really bad at math. And whatever reason, over time, you hear that enough. I'm really bad at math. I'm really bad at math. You become really bad at math. Most people never have the conversation, I could be good at math if I would only take the time to learn and practice the skills necessary to be good at math. It's a whole different conversation. Most people don't get that for whatever reason. So the bad trances are what I concern myself with as a hypnotist. All right, so basically, now let's break this down even further since this is erotic hypnosis the hard way. Erotic hypnosis is using hypnotic suggestions to help a client achieve, in my mind, recreational sexual objectives for entertainment purposes such as role play, pushing personal boundaries, fantasy fulfillment, or hypnosex. Okay? Erotic hypnosis is mostly recreational. Okay? Examples of erotic hypnosis are hands-free orgasms, requests. These are requests that I've gotten. Femdom role play, financial domination. Believe it or not, there's a thing out there where a man or a woman, typically a man, would like their hypno-femdom to call them and say, all right, I need $500, put it in my account. In the BDSM world, people want to do hypnosis to get past their pain limits. There's enhanced slave obedience training. Sometimes people use erotic hypnosis to enhance cross-dressing or to get in touch with their sissy slut or for hypnosex. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not my area of erotic hypnosis. And I'm not poo-pooing it, but there's a lot of people who will do this that are out there. They do it for fun. There's a few, pro-doms, pro-hypnotists that special in this kind of behavior, but this is not where I am going with this presentation at all. All right, my area is erotic hypnotherapy, and let me explain the difference. Erotic hypnotherapy uses hypnosis and hypnotherapy modalities to transform sexual issues from disempowering to empowering. I use hypnotic techniques to clear my clients' bad sex baggage, as I call it, so they can enjoy a more fulfilling and satisfying sex life. So erotic hypnosis is recreational. Erotic hypnotherapy, we got a goal in mind and an objective to achieve, which is usually correcting some flawed trauma experience, whether it be a regular trauma or micro traumas. I'm trying to correct those so you can enjoy your best sex life. Okay? Examples of erotic hypnotherapy: erectile dysfunction, anorgasmia, swinging lifestyle issues. This comes a lot. This is my specialty. I spent a lot of time in the swingerverse, the lifestyle. I know a lot about this. BDSM as well. Occasionally I work with porn, kink, or fetish addictions. Sometimes relationship issues, but don't get me wrong, I'm not a relationship counselor. I'm not a marriage counselor. The relationship issues are a husband and wife, a boyfriend and girlfriend that want to explore swinging in the safest way possible. That's kind of where I go with relationship issues. Self-acceptance and confidence building. I do a lot of that, especially in the swinging and the BDSM worlds. I also found a niche with victims of human trafficking. Okay, my qualifications as a hypnotherapist. Sorry, got cut off there. I am a certified hypnotist. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, certified transpersonal hypnotherapist. What's the difference? Okay, a certified hypnotist is basically someone who gets you in a nice, relaxed state and reads you a script or suggestions that you would like to receive to help you achieve your objective. A certified hypnotherapist, I have additional training to help you overcome different traumas and different things that you've experienced to get you to the next best version of yourself. Certified transpersonal hypnotherapist. This is where we get into the woo, okay? We deal with karma, dharma, alien abduction, religious beliefs, and my training is to help you acknowledge those beliefs that you may have. If you feel like you've been abducted by an alien, by golly, yes, you have. We will work with that perspective. If you feel, if you're Mormon, Buddhist, Rastafarian, it is my job to honor your belief system, whatever that is, and work with that to help you get to the next level that you want to live at. I'm an NLP master practitioner. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, okay? What's the difference? Neuro-linguistic programming is selecting words that get you to where you want to go. A lot of times my clients will come to me and they'll be like, I just want to feel less stressed. All right? I honor that. However, that's a really crappy suggestion to give somebody because the word you're giving them is stress. You will feel less stress. You will feel less stress. You will feel less stress. When a better suggestion would be, you feel calm and serene in every situation. Way better suggestion. So NLP is the study of language and choosing the best words so that your suggestions get right on through your barriers and go into your subconscious mind. I'm also a board certified medical hypnotist. I've had 2,500 hours of training, depending on the school that you've gone to. I'd say typical hypnotist training is 300 to 500 hours. I have this many hours of training because I absolutely love it. This is a passion for me. And so anytime I can take advanced training, I am there. I actually train a minimum 2 hours a week. And oftentimes as many as 5 or 10 hours a week. If I go to a conference, I'll come away with 30, 40 hours just in that week. I have at least 3,000 hours of clinical practice. And I'm a presenter at hypnosis conferences. In addition to being a hypnotist, I did stand-up comedy. I have created a technique called the hilarity and hypnosis approach, and I often use that in my sessions. So as we move through here, other qualifications, I was a comedian that specialized in comedy for swingers, nudists, and BDSMers. And I either researched or lived these topics in depth for 15 years. A lot of the hypnotists that specialize in these issues took a class or they read about it. I lived it. You choose. If you want to go with someone who read about it, you're certainly welcome. A lot of it depends on your vibe with the hypnotist that you're working with. Anyway, what can I say? I have life experience. It's nothing that I read. How I got this experience, I was hired as a comedian to perform on 20 plus lifestyle cruises. And when I did these cruises, they were a week long typically. I worked 2 hours, so I had a lot of downtime. And in that downtime, I interviewed hundreds of couples, sexually adventurous adults, and asked them about their lifestyle choices, what worked, what didn't work, what are their good experiences, what are their bad experiences. And all this helped put together a bizarre repertoire of knowledge that I often share with my clients who need that knowledge. And I will tell you that even though I do have a lot of experience with the swinging lifestyle, it is not the right lifestyle for everybody. So don't even think that if you're having other issues that I'm going to recommend that you get into swinging. However, there are some things to be learned from the swinging lifestyle that you can implement without being a swinger. What I love about what I do, I love solving puzzles. To me, any issue that a human being is having is a puzzle. I love finding the life patterns that led to the unwanted thoughts and behaviors. Typically, in most of my clients, there is a series, I call them micro traumas or micro things that happen to them over a long period of time. Oftentimes, it's a big, shocking thing. But I like to find the patterns because we are creatures of habit. We look for things that are safe to us. Even though the pattern doesn't make sense to anybody else, I can find your pattern pretty much within 45 minutes, and we work with that to get you to where you want to be. One of the things that makes me unique, I do have a background in Chinese face reading. I do have a background in watching your body and facial expressions. I'm listening to what you say, but honestly, your body and your face answers long before it comes out of your mouth. And so that's what I'm looking for in particular. I do read your face when we do these readings. You will find that if we were to work together, I am very present. I am constantly watching you, but without, not making it creepy. But I'm watching what you do. I'm watching where the tics are in your expressions, because that's where the transformation lies, is where those little pauses are. That's where we got to go. My clients often tell me things that they have never told anybody. And I make them feel very comfortable about their issues, because even though you may think your topic, your issue, your problem is weird for you, it's fascinating for me. I think it's very interesting, like I said, how these kinks, fetishes, behaviors got hardwired in, and what made them disempowering, what made them empowering. I'm just fascinated by the whole process. So I like to make the transformation process fun. As I said, I did comedy. I feel, yes, you can cry through your shit, but you can also laugh through it too. And so I remember when I was going through hypnosis school, they were telling me, to have a good session, you got to make the client cry. Well, I just spent 15 years on the road as a comic, making people feel amazing for an hour. There's got to be a different way to make people feel good. And what I found is that when I add a comedic touch to your session, it's really hard to go back and see your trauma in the same way. And please note that when we do, if we incorporate comedy, it's never making fun of you. It's a very loving way at looking at your situation with humor. So please know the difference. It's not a humiliation thing with me ever. What I don't like, which is part of my job, is sometimes I take on your shit, which means I have to clean myself energetically. No big deal. And, the computer stuff, the bookkeeping. I'm a people person. I love working with the people. So now there's a lot of gray area to what I do. So I got to be kind of clear about this. I am not a marriage therapist, okay? If you are having problems in your marriage, please don't call me. I can't help you. I'm not a sex therapist. I don't have that kind of training. If you feel you need sex therapy, please keep on Googling. I am also not a licensed social worker or family counselor. I'm not a sex worker. This falls under the erotic hypnosis line of things. I'm not a hypnoprostitute. I am a thought and behavior change specialist with some really bizarre qualifications in erotic hypnotherapy, swinging, BDSM, and also nudist. I live in a nudist community. This is my life. I don't know what else to tell you. About my company, Wings Hypnosis, started hypnosis in 2014. I do require that all my potential clients do a consultation first. This is because I don't accept every client. If your issue or what you're hoping to achieve is outside of my scope, I will tell you. I will try and refer you to someone who can help you. And some clients, I don't feel like it's a good match. And so it is what it is. You got to do a consultation. 85% of my business is erotic hypnotherapy. It's with people who live an alternative lifestyle, whether it be swinging, whether it be BDSM, whether it be LGBTQA. That's just my business. The other 15% of my business, I can do smoking cessation. I can do weight loss. But the erotic hypnotherapy, confidence, esteem building, that is my deal. My client base is 50% men, 50% women, like spot on right there. A typical client will see me for 3 to 5 sessions. I can never really, once I meet you, I can tell you whether it's going to be the 3 to 5, occasionally 8 sessions. A lot of times it just depends how effed up you are. And I really don't know that until I meet with you and talk to you. If you're really effed up, you got a lifelong, traumas behind you, and or you've been in therapy for years. It always takes me longer to undo that because you have had to explain to multiple therapists what you've been through. And every time you explain that, there's another neural pathway in your brain that I got to undo. As a result, I have found a way to work with clients where you don't ever have to tell me your trauma, your tragedy, ever. We can certainly work without you having to relive that story. Works for me because I don't have to take that home with me. And it works for you because it doesn't create another neural pathway in your brain that we have to undo later. My sessions are typically 90 minutes. I found that once I get your story out of you, it takes me about 45 minutes. If we do an hour session, that gives me 15 minutes to, clean up your face and send you home. If it's crying kind of a session, occasionally I get one. But I like to take that other 45 minutes and really drill in and get the changes that we need. It gives me time to do hypnosis without feeling rushed. Also, my pricing includes 30 minutes of post-session processing. If we record a session, if we do a recording in your session, it gives me a half-hour time to process that. So plan on, your session with me will be 90 minutes, but I got 30 minutes of cleanup once you leave, once your session is over. I do use a lot of humor in addition to hypnosis to helping my clients. I picked this up from another hypnotist, and I feel it's a beautiful mantra. I tell all my clients professionally, I never want to see you again. I want you up and living your best life in as few sessions as possible. I think this years of therapy is crazy. And here's why. Because a lot of times when people have made a decision, and even though they don't think they made a decision, there's something that sparked them to live or believe a certain way that was made in an instant. And you can choose to not live that way in just a short a time. However, sometimes we got to talk you into it because there's things that happened that reinforce the behavior you don't want. And so a lot of times it's like peeling the layers of an onion. Humor is a shortcut. I love using humor. It's a great way to get past blocks. The power of humor. I did have a client this was a demo I did at a hypnosis conference. She had been sexually assaulted by 5 men over a 20-year period. You might have seen her comment is the inquiry that I get. We were able to wipe that out in a 30-minute demo. She actually came back and saw me this last year at the same hypnosis conference. She hadn't given those men another thought in the 4 years until she saw me and brought her friend to my demo, to the class I was teaching. So humor is very, very powerful. And if you have a sense of humor, man, you found your person. If you don't have a sense of humor, don't worry. I got other ways to work with you. I got a lot of training. So my clientele is 99% adults. This is because I did do comedy for swingers, nudists, and BDSMers for about 15 years. I would hate for a child to Google my name and find something, and they may. So I'm just very upfront with that. If you do have a child that is having an erotic hypnotherapy issue, just be mindful of that I will tell you, if you Google my name and you're okay with your child finding what you found about me, then I may work with your child, depending on the issue. I don't accept insurance. Sorry, this is going to be a thing that you pay for out of your pocket. I do want to mention Florida Statute 485 because I'm in the state of Florida. This governs how I have to run my practice. So If you call me up and say, Tracy, I'm depressed, I have anxiety, I'm going to ask you if you have been clinically diagnosed with depression and anxiety, because that makes a difference. If you are clinically being treated for depression and anxiety by a licensed healthcare provider, I cannot see you without a referral from that provider. I cannot practice hypnosis for therapeutic purposes. I can't treat anxiety. I can't treat depression. I can't treat PTSD. If you do have questions about this, definitely, give me a call, shoot me a text. Go ahead and read up on Florida Statute 485, but these are pretty hardcore laws that I do abide by. I typically don't get a lot of phone calls for that, but just, please understand, I legally cannot do therapeutic hypnotherapy with you. My clients often choose me because I have life experience. They don't have to explain their lifestyle choices to me. They don't have to justify their lifestyle choices, and there's no judgments on their lifestyle choices here. So I like to provide a very safe environment that you can share anything. I'm going to throw this in there because it is a very politically divided climate. Whether you are liberal, conservative, libertarian, whatever you believe, feel free that you can say what you need to say. If politics does influence your issue, there is no judgment. No matter who you vote for, what you vote for, how you vote, what you believe. So I just want to put that out there because it does come up from time to time, and just say what you got to say. You are at one place, you want to be at the other place. All I am is your bridge, okay? I just want to help you get from where you are now to where you want to be safely and sanely. That's it. All right, so being an erotic hypnotherapist, I get some weird ass inquiries. I'm not going to lie. Weird. Since I started posting this on my website, my inquiries have gone from a call a week to a call every 2 years. But I do want to cover this because business ethics is very important to me. If you are familiar with an organization called Rotary, I've been a Rotarian for 20 years. They abide by the 4-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Does it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? This guides every interaction I have with my clients. But erotic hypnotherapy, I get some weird requests. So bear with me the next 4 slides. These are my guidelines. So if you are looking for a session that would violate any of these guidelines, just save yourself a consultation because we're not doing it. All right. Sessions I don't accept. Any session involving nudity, masturbation, or sex acts. And if it's in this list, it's because somebody's called me and asked me for it at least once. Femdom hypnosis, where I act as your mistress, dominant, or top. And if you don't know what any of these are, shoot me an email. I'm happy to explain it. I don't do any sessions where I am your submissive slave or your bottom. I don't do any hypnosis designed to make you fall in love with me, someone, or something else. I don't do hypnotic amnesia. Sometimes people say, can you make me forget my first wife, my ex-boyfriend? No. Here's why. If, let's say it works, the hypnotic amnesia works, and you meet this person again and you fall in love with them again and they take advantage of you again, I feel the better approach is to find a way to learn from the mistake and then don't let that mistake trigger you in the future. And also to give you the tools so you recognize this kind of person so you don't fall in love with a similar person again. Remember those patterns I was talking about? This is a great one where patterns come into play. They find themselves going with the same kind of people. So no, we don't do a hypnotic amnesia ever. I don't do free sessions in exchange for service. This is a BDSM thing. I don't do any fantasy or role play involving children or animals, real or imagined. I don't do hypnosis for activities that cause harm, temporary or permanent or imagined, to yourself, others, children, or animals. I don't do sessions with any form of incest, even if all parties are of legal age and give their consent. No. I don't do any sessions with violence, mutilation, or physical damage of any kind. I don't do any self-harm, suffocation, autoerotic asphyxiation, or anything that has the potential to cause temporary or permanent harm or death to yourself and others. Why? Click, click. I am too pretty to go to jail. No way. Hypnosis sessions involving blood, urine, feces, real or imagined. Just no. And let me just say that I don't want to yuck on someone's yum, okay? But this is just, I'm not interested in these kinds of sessions at all. Financial domination, hypnotizing you or someone to give money on command. It sounds a little bit too much like fraud to me. I don't need that. I don't do sessions where I program you or your slave to surrender complete control in decision making to myself or anyone else. At the end of the day, everybody is responsible for their actions. And so I know this kind of crosses a few lines with the BDSM community, but I just, at the end of the day, you have to have the tools to look out for yourself and protect yourself. So I never do hypnosis that will take you to those extremes where you give up your decision-making capabilities 24/7 to someone or something. My BDSMers, I don't hypnotize owned slaves or submissives for BDSM purposes without a consultation and written consent from their owners. So if we are doing master-slave hypnosis or mistress-slave hypnosis, when we do the consultation, I want you both there. Okay? If your submissive wants to quit smoking, I'm not going to worry about that so much, but when it comes to BDSM, that kind of stuff, I just know. We all need to meet. We all need to be in agreement on this whole thing. So if you do want hypnosis for your slave or for your master, just plan on being there together. I don't teach others how to use hypnosis to seduce another person to fall in love with you. That kind of goes into the dark arts of hypnosis, the seduction community. That is not my deal. I also do not do any other session that does not adhere to safe, sane, and consensual, risk-aware consensual kink, or personal responsibility-informed consensual kink principles. Just no. Everybody's got to be in agreement, you and me. Oh, look at that. Self-harm, suffocation, that got duplicated. I really mean that one. I can't have you dying in my session. Just no. Oh, look at this. I'm really bad at editing. Oh, well. All right, results. So these were inquiries that you heard at the beginning of this. I'm not just performing like I used to. My testosterone is normal, but something is off, okay? If you are having a performance issue, I need you to get your testosterone checked if you're a guy. Here's the deal, okay? If your testosterone is low, there ain't no amount of hypnosis in the world that's going to fix that. We got to make sure your hypnosis is in a range, okay? And just because it's in a range doesn't mean it's the right range for you, so keep that in mind. I'm not a doctor, but definitely get your testosterone checked. Where hypnosis really works is if you're not responding the way that you want to. There's kind of a sweet spot between whatever you're thinking about is getting in the way of your sex before your testosterone bottoms out. So that's kind of the sweet spot for hypnosis. There's a block, there's a mental issue. That's where we can go in and do the hypnosis to get you past that. It's not 100% guaranteed, but a lot of times once we fix some of the underlying issues, and mind you, they may be issues that you never even thought of. Sometimes it's religious beliefs. Sometimes there's guilt. Sometimes I've had where there's like an ex-partner that said something that hardwired in and screwed everything up from there forward. I don't know what it is until I talk to you, but oftentimes it's some of those things. My wife and I are swingers, but she's lost interest in having sex with me or anyone. Yes, oftentimes I can help you. What I recommend, okay? I do a podcast. Show her the podcast, all right? The worst thing you can do is tell your wife, hey, I noticed you're not getting off in bed. Call this girl. No, please don't do that to me. It's going to be far easier if you go through my website, find an episode that she might relate to, and go, hey, I found this podcast. You might find it interesting. Go that route. And then if she's, oh, I saw that. That was interesting. Maybe I should reach out to her. Great. Fair game. But yes, oftentimes I can help your wife. Oftentimes, I have a guy who thinks the answer to everything is sex, but the woman is going through other things. Could be menopause, could be stress, it could be illness, it could be another family member that she's worried about. I never know what it is until I talk with you, but oftentimes yes. But I just throw that out there because how do I bring up Tracy to my partner who's having issues? The podcast. I'm a straight guy, but I feel guilty and shame because I like to do gay things. I get this a lot. Whether it be cross-dressing, whether it be gay acts, whether it be swallowing. I had one of my clients that went to several therapists, and they go, why don't you just admit you're gay? Why don't you just admit you're gay? And he's like, I'm not gay. I like to do gay things. So this kind of comes down to one of my beliefs. I don't really care about your identity. I don't care if you're straight, bi, gay, whatever it is. I want you to feel comfortable with just being you and whatever that is. The labels are just labels, but not every person falls well under a label. So if you like to do gay things, but you're feeling guilt or shame about it, that's my job. How you identify, that's your business. I want to work with you on the guilt and shame. So I know this is maybe a bit more, but I hope this helps you at least get to know me and what I'm about. I love to cross-dress and wear lingerie, but I'm self-conscious that I don't look more feminine. I do get this a lot. We work on that. Pretty much. And a lot of it is just letting go of what you're supposed to think you're supposed to look like and just being and just enjoying what it is that drew you to that fetish in the first place. My first sexual experience, I was assaulted. I've had lousy relationships. I think I'm gay. I do get this quite a bit. Usually, I tell my client, congratulations, the worst sex of your life is out of the way. It should get better from here. But a lot of times it doesn't. Again, we work on clearing whatever that first experience was and making it so that you can at least make peace with it. If you can't make peace with it, then I can help, often through humor, helping you see it in a different way. I've had a fetish for years and my wife doesn't know about it. It's out of control. Can you help me? This is a clear-cut deal where we find the patterns. When did the fetish come into existence? Most people with a fetish can give you a date and time when that fetish hardwired in. It's a part of your existence. There are some therapists that want to knock that kink out of you. I like to work with your kink, if it calls for it, and find a way to embrace the kink and accept it and make it a part of you. So depending on the fetish, I've worked with all different kinds of fetishes. Sometimes they're very general. Sometimes they're widely accepted. Sometimes they're very specific. I have in the past worked with people in the adult baby, ABDL, adult baby diaper lover community. I've had people with fetishes for certain kinds of TV shows, with movies, different kinds of, the one that comes to mind is mud wrestling. I had a fellow with a mud wrestling fetish. I have had one, which I thought was interesting, that they get turned on by fat people. I've worked with that. That was a fun one to work with. Or they wanted to be fat themselves. They wanted to gain weight. Usually people think of hypnosis as weight loss, but you can also use hypnosis to gain weight as well. Anyhow, I'll just move along. I was trafficked after years of therapy. I'm still triggered by X, Y, Z. Will I ever feel safe? Yes, I can definitely help with this. I've worked with several victims who've been trafficked. I can do this in such a way that you don't necessarily have to tell me what you experienced. We can definitely negate those triggers and get them down to manageable levels. And I have a way to do this where we don't actually do, in this case, people who've been trafficked are on high alert. And so, hey, sit in my chair, sleep is not a good approach for that. So I have a way, it's called covert hypnosis, waking hypnosis. Basically, we talk our way through the whole thing. My person is in control the whole time. If I give a suggestion that doesn't resonate with them, they have the right to change it, and we work in that manner. So they're a very active participant in their hypnosis session with me instead of just laying back and letting suggestions wash over them. I'm in my late 40s and I've never had an orgasm. My mom taught me that sex was nasty. I get this a lot. Usually there's a religious tie to it, not always. Occasionally there's abuse in the family or there's drug addiction somewhere in there. But yes, we can definitely work through these kinds of issues. The next one, sex is very painful. Several doctors have told me there's nothing physically wrong with me. The one that I'm thinking of, she actually went to 6 doctors, had multiple x-rays and CAT scans. Nobody could find anything. And when we started digging into the trauma, she had been sexually assaulted. And what she had connected to this was multiple things, and they were actually triggering her every day. So we had to find what all those triggers were. And once we negated them, she was able to have pain-free sex. And that was a one and done session. I was proud of that one. My slave is not obedient to my commands. Can you program him to make me a priority and obey? Yes. However, when we do the consultation, we're all doing this together because I want to respect the dynamic that you have as a master-slave, Mr.-slave relationship. And I need to make sure that everybody's in agreement with the commands that are given, myself included. So yes, we can definitely work on this. I'm a swinger and I can't swallow. You don't even need to be a swinger to not swallow. This particular woman felt like she was less than a woman because she was unable to do this for her husband. They'd been married 20 years. Oddly enough, we took that back to a medical trauma that she experienced in her childhood. She didn't remember it until I asked her the magic question, but we took it back that far. And once we were able to clear that trauma out of her system, she was good to go. And her husband was very happy, as you can imagine. I was sexually assaulted by 5 men over 20 years. I now have kids of my own and I'm scared. This was the demo that I had talked about earlier. And yeah, we can knock a lot of this out. I'm not going to say that we can knock everything out in 30, 40 minutes, but it's going to be a jam-packed 90-minute session. It's it's not going to be 90 minutes of me handing you tissues. Fuck that. No. We are getting shit done, all right? And that's how I roll. I'm not the cheapest hypnotherapist. You probably don't want to turn your mind over to the cheapest hypnotherapist. That's crazy. But you're going to get a lot of results working with me. I like to get shit done. I want you living your best life. I don't want to see you week after week. I have shit to do too. I want to live my best life. This is a part of it, but hearing you bitch about the same things over and over, no. All right, so we got that out of the way. Here's my podcast, The Hilarious Hypnotist. I'll put a link to it so that you can find it. I'm on Apple Tunes, Spotify. I have taken a little break from filming episodes. I just needed a break in general, but there's a lot of episodes on there. A lot of them deal with erotic hypnotherapy. I do have 2 ladies on there that were trafficked. I have people who have had different fetishes that we've encountered. And then I have fear of flying. You'll see it all in there. I have another one where it was a political one that we did. She was very upset over the results of the last election, and it actually ended up being an additional podcast to go over the dark arts of hypnosis and how people are constantly vying for your attention, for your mind. So go ahead and look for my podcast. Share it with as many people as you want. However, don't have them listen to it when you're trying to pick up the kids from school. It is not for kiddies. Craziest sessions that I've done. I put this in here. Sometimes it's humorous. I had an adult baby diaper lover that wanted to lose weight. And so what I did is I used the Sesame Street induction. And this is where you're going to see some creativity here. So with the Sesame Street induction, to get him into trance, I had him imagine that he was in a crib with the mobile spinning around. And I said, and one of the characters was the count. And I'm like, as we go from 5, 4, he was out by 3. And then I hypnotized him to eat baby-sized meals and to drink all of his water out of a bottle. Bam! We were able to incorporate the fetish into the life goal. Beautiful. 3, 2, 1. So I hate to say this. I did this when I was a newer hypnotist. I was dating a guy who I hypnotized for fun on a 3, 2, 1 countdown. 3, he would get hard. 2, he would be on the brink of orgasm, and 1 would be a hands-free orgasm. Yes, it's possible. I will say this gentleman was highly, highly, highly suggestible and loved hypnosis for this reason. So I hypnotized him for a 3, 2, 1 countdown. And the next day he went to work, and he had a client from the Melbourne, Florida area. He asked for that client's phone number, which started with 321, and we had a little embarrassing situation at work. And so I had to unhypnotize him for the 321 countdown and make it only so it was my voice, only worked with me when it was safe, business wasn't affected. Later, he reached out. He had dated another hypnofemdom who gave him a post-hypnotic suggestion that if they ever broke up, he wouldn't be able to come unless he was with her. Because they had broke up, he's now seeing someone else. Things aren't working the way they wanted. And so I had to hypnotize him again to undo that programming. It does happen. So that was kind of a fun one. I put down black beans. This is one of my podcast episodes. If you follow the first couple of episodes I did with a young lady named Skylar, it started out, she just wanted to be able to go to a Mexican restaurant and not be grossed out. And when we started, she narrowed it down to black beans, and it ended up being part of a friend who had passed, and she had found the person and found something that looked like that, and it made her sick from there forward. And so we had to get her to be at peace with that memory, and then she was able to eat black beans from there forward. But definitely catch that podcast episode. It is fascinating, and I ended up doing 4 episodes with her. One thing I forgot to tell you, if you don't mind sharing your issue with the world, and it's one that I think will have some interest on my podcast, I will do your session for free. It is a video audio podcast, so your face will be there. I don't share your last name unless given permission. But if you need help, but you can't afford me, and you don't mind sharing your shit with the universe, I will do your session for free. So there you go. Craziest sessions. I had a client who came to me with some pretty hardcore OCD. He had a thing with numbers, and certain numbers were good, certain numbers were bad. And He, in his mind, thought what he was going through was crazy. I pretty much likened his passion for numbers as a fetish that just had gotten out of control. So it was really interesting to capture the stories that went with each of the numbers and starting to connect the patterns, why certain numbers had a little more juice to them and why some numbers didn't have any issues at all. So that was an interesting one. I had a gentleman who was psychically raped. Very, very interesting session. No physical harm, but he felt that somebody was attacking his mind, attacking his energy, and not only his energy, but that of his soulmate. Very, very interesting session to go through. Not on my podcast, but I include this example because sometimes what I work with is just in another plane. It's not erotic hypnotherapy. It's just in another stratosphere of belief system. But I love this kind of work. Bring it on. I also did another recording. I believe this was for a transgender who wanted more bimbofication is what it was. This person had been getting recordings that just didn't quite fit because they were a little too fluffy, and fluffy was not a characteristic of this person. So we did a very mature bimbofication recording, customized recording, another thing I do. I've done all kinds of customized recordings for my clients. I did have, there's my mud wrestling fetish guy. That was a fun one. I had a client who I ended up doing a Harry Potter regression. This is one of the few children that I've worked with. I did the Harry Potter regression because I felt like it was something that was past life, but being a child hadn't really studied enough history. And so we just kind of modified it and did a Harry Potter regression, and was able to use dinosaurs and wizards and spells and potions in order to give this child a little more feeling of protection. Help a woman experience a specific sex act that she was terrified of having. I had a lady who was looking to do a particular sex act, a DP. Look it up if you don't know what it is. But she had been sexually assaulted by two guys. And so helping her make peace with that incident in her past, she was able to feel safe about going forward and getting the sex act that she wanted. You will find her in my podcast as well. I ain't going to tell you who it is. So anyhow, I'm Tracy with Wings Hypnosis. I hope you found this informative. This ended up being way longer than I thought, but if you made it this way, awesome. Thank you for watching. I hope it gives you a feel of who I am as a person, what it's like to work with me. If you need more information, please visit my website, Wings Hypnosis, or erotichypnotherapist.com, and check out my podcast, The Hilarious Hypnotist. Thank you so much, and I look forward to meeting you.